listeners from all corners of the interwebs. Thank you for making the effort to tune in for another edition of the Friday evening podcast that delivers biblical and educational content in 30 minutes or less. And now I shall proceed to give you what you need. So the story begins back in 2010 or 2011 when I was working part-time at a courier company with a bunch of dudes in their mid-20s. Total sausage fest. Anyways, one day, one of the guys suggests we buy like a group lottery ticket or whatever, where the whole operations staff would chip in like $2, kind of like a work bonding, morale boost kind of deal. And if all goes well, they might do it every week or bi-weekly or monthly. So my coworker is making his rounds, pitching the idea and collecting contributions, and I know he was about to get to me soon, and I was like, oh man, what should I do? I'm not really into this stuff. So my coworker is 30 seconds away from asking me for $2, and I really don't want any part of this lottery stuff besides the obvious answer that I'm cheap and I don't want to fork over $2. But also because I think playing the lottery is kinda stupid. If you think about it, the people who buy them, they're primarily the blue-collar, working-class type, or like old folks who do it to pass the time. So essentially, these people are attracted to that thrill or glimmer of hope where they can solve all their problems with one good stroke of luck. And when this demographic is so fixated on this dream big attitude, they completely overlook the mathematical improbabilities of playing the lottery. I'm no math guy, so I'm not going to bother with the percentages or stats. I'll just point out that you're more likely to get hit by lightning 5 times and survive than you are to win the lottery. I'll leave it at that. Anyways, back to my story. So my coworker finally gets to me and asks, hey man, you want to play? $2 if you want in. And I was like, nah man, I'm good. Then he goes, why not? It's fun. We're all playing. Besides, if we do win, we're not going to cut you in on the winnings. And he kind of laughs. So I was put on the spot to explain myself, but at the same time I don't want to because I'll probably end up getting all preachy and use the religion card. And the thing is, they're just playing for fun. They're not really trying to get rich. So I just muttered something like, I don't feel comfortable playing. Then he goes, oh, it's the Christian thing, right? Well, okay, think of it this way. If you play and win, it's kind of like a sign from God that he wants you to have this money. Then you can use the money to pay off your car or mortgage payments for yourself and those you care about. And more importantly, you can start a whole bunch of charitable organizations, cure cancer, provide clean water to poor countries, end human trafficking, all that good stuff. You know, basically honor and please God by giving back to the community. And I was like, that is true. Plus, it's only $2. Maybe I shouldn't be so uptight and just do it so I don't become the center of attention at work and people start gossiping about me like, oh, that weirdo didn't want to chip in $2 to play the lottery. But I just didn't feel comfortable because I wasn't sure whether playing the lottery for a good cause or with good intentions would please God. Well, for one, the obvious point is not everyone, after receiving the money, would give to charity or would give for godly purposes. And the one hypothetical that occupies my mind is, if you're a Christian, and once it goes public, you won the lottery, all sorts of charities, organizations, and people in need will start knocking on your door for a piece of the pie. And as a Christian, you have to prioritize helping those around you, including the church, and you would feel the guilt trip to give all who are in need since you've been given such a blessing of earthly wealth. Next thing you know, you need to invest the money to keep the revenue flowing, and you have to hire personnel, consultants, office professionals to manage your estate, your charities, your foundations, plus all the extra administrative costs that come with it. Then before you know, one bad investment or one low revenue quarter and you can't keep up with your payments and costs of running all these ventures and operations. Bills start piling up, then bam, you yourself have to file for bankruptcy. Is it that far-fetched that you are now worse off than you were before you won the lottery? Yes. For those asking, I do watch a lot of television and I'm good at coming up with story plot lines. But this crazy scenario that I just cooked up in my head closely resembles the risks of wealth that Apostle Paul told his buddy Timothy when Timothy had to care for the Ephesus church as the only qualified leader in 1 Timothy 6, verse 9 to 10. The scripture goes a little something like this. Those who want to get rich fall into temptation and a trap, and into many foolish and harmful desires that plunge people into ruin and destruction. Some people eager for money have wandered from the faith and have pierced themselves with many griefs. So what I'm trying to illustrate is lottery winners, religious and non-religious alike, may be in even worse financial situation few years after winning a jackpot than they were before. I guess you can say there is an element of risk when it comes to a sudden influx of great wealth, and people are not mentally equipped with such a newfound responsibility, and then they would experience what the previously mentioned passage would describe as ruin and destruction, wandering from the faith and being pierced with many griefs. So for those who are keeping score thus far, I propose the ideas that lotto winners are less likely to be generous, they're more likely to be worse off than they were before they won the money, but you also have to consider the nature of the lottery money and where it came from. Proverbs 13:11 says, "Dishonest money dwindles away, but he who gathers money little by little makes it grow." And a more literal and descriptive translation of the Hebrew text would say, "Unsubstantial and fleeting money, or money that you didn't earn, or money that came quickly, dwindles away. But he who earns money by hand through labor," which implies honest hard work, "makes their earnings or savings grow." So despite the obvious appeal of getting rich quick, the Christian worldview, informed by biblical wisdom literature, goes against your instincts and common sense that the hard and honest way is the safest and most fruitful way. And that, in a sense, is the mystery of Christianity. Sometimes the standards it lays out aren't always fun and easy. Plus, if you think about it, for you Christian lotto players out there, does God really need or even want your lottery money to fund his mission in the world? I'm not saying lotto winnings are like blood money, like it came from drugs or a bank heist, but it makes you wonder whether God wants his earthly causes funded by money that was essentially taken from the poor who are too blinded by their own temptation for riches. So as you can see, this topic is pretty complicated and there are just too many factors to consider. So what's the verdict? Should Christians be allowed to play the lottery? I'll answer that by first wrapping up how my conversation with my coworker ended, which was me basically looking like a total dork because I insisted on not playing the lottery, and my coworker was actually pretty cool about it with my decision, and he even joked, saying like, "Okay, that's fine, just don't come to me for money when I get my share of the winnings, ha ha ha, you can try the other guys." And thinking back, I didn't know why I refused to be a part of the lottery group bonding exercise with my coworkers, and I'm not sure if I made the right decision. I mean, the Bible does not specifically condemn gambling. In fact, the Bible even mentions instances where biblical characters used luck or chance to make decisions. For example, in Joshua 18, Joshua cast lots to determine the allotment of land to the various tribes who were part of their successful campaign in capturing numerous cities along the Palestinian coast. In Acts 1, after Jesus ascended back to heaven, the apostles cast lots to determine the replacement for the vacant disciple/apostle spot since Judas hung himself. I mention this because even though Joshua or the apostles weren't using chance or luck for financial gain, it technically could be considered a mild form of gambling, since drawing the short straw method is designed to pick one loser and the others as winners. Nevertheless, gambling is not a sin. It's just frowned upon and has been stigmatized as the pastime for lowlifes. But gambling does breed undesirable habits. For example, the lottery tempts people to waste money. It's not necessarily evil. I mean, people spend money on all sorts of non-essential activities, like eating an expensive meal at a fancy restaurant, or what else? Purchasing a high-end Italian leather handcrafted handbag. So if you want to go ahead and start betting on horse races or getting in on that sports action, the lottery, or even play mahjong with a little money at stake, just know it is not a sin. However, do remember the main points about the love of money and getting rich quick in 1 Timothy and Proverbs. You think the lottery money would solve your problems, and I'm not saying it can't, but it might open up a new set of problems for you that you probably didn't have to worry about before when you weren't wealthy. And let's not forget how money that wasn't earned or came from less than honorable means or sources can be fleeting and don't necessarily help you as much as you thought it would. Now, I know there are some of you out there who aren't greedy and not trying to get rich quick, but are considering the option of playing the lottery because you don't want to spend the majority of your adult life paying off student loans, the house or car, and that doesn't even include the cost of having children if you decide to have them. So if you're lucky and against all odds you achieve debt-free status, you'll probably be in your 60s. And I apologize if what I'm about to say is kind of dark, but at this point of your life clock is basically ticking down. You spend all your time paying off your debt. Now you have to start saving up for your own funeral and casket. I mean, what a crappy and pointless life, right? But wouldn't winning the lottery change all that? Is it wrong to want financial security and stability via the lottery? Is that really a sign of greed? Well, let me just restate the fact that if you want to buy a lottery ticket to help even the playing field in resolving financial issues, just know the Bible does not explicitly prohibit the lottery or gambling. And just make sure your motives are pure, you're not trying to get rich quick, and you don't have an unhealthy attachment to money and material possessions. If you can check those points off your list, then no one really has the authority to tell you what to do. But it is interesting how the passage in Hebrews 13, verse 5 to 6, which was a letter written to encourage new Christian converts to persevere and resist the temptation of giving up on Christianity because of its high level of commitment. This is what the biblical author had to say. Keep your lives free from the love of money and be content with what you have, because God has said, "Never will I leave you, never will I forsake you." So the passage doesn't say yes or no to accepting lottery money, but it encourages you to embrace and persevere through the financial uncertainty in one's life. Ideally, God's assurance that He will never leave you nor forsake you should fuel you to overcome the crippling worries that come with financial hardships. But if you don't feel the spiritual impact of these words in Hebrews 13, and you find that lottery money is the more practical solution for your immediate circumstances, then I really don't know what to say. I hope everything works out for you. Alright, I'll stop it here and let you weigh your options, because show's over, folks. So thanks for listening, and goodbye.